Yes, guys, welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. It's international break, but not for much longer. We are counting down the days till FPL Game Week 12 deadline. As always, this Wednesday, we are presenting three of the biggest questions of the week. I'm joined by regular co-host and Bruno owner since day one. 17 points last time out, Mr. Bigman Backer.
Hello, Johnny. Hello, welcome to all the listeners and viewers. I hope you all have been well. It's been ages since the last time we've spoken, Johnny. You should have mentioned co-owner, actually, because you bought Bruno last week as well. So congratulations to you on the 17-point haul as well. The last couple of weeks have actually been great in FPL. Just this timing of the Haaland to Salah sale and then Bruno performing has sort of just... propelled me up from the abyss. I think I'm just outside the 1 million at this point.
Nice.
But yeah, we were just sort of speaking of where that this is actually the festive period where the big gains will be made, because games will be back and forth, midweek fixtures as well. So yeah, as long as I can sort of build on that momentum and consolidate my position, then yeah, this is going to be the key spell, which I think will make or break our seasons.
Yeah, I mean, game week 19 is up until the end of December. So we have pretty much got like 40% of the first half of the season is played between now and the end of December. So we pretty much take all of the pain we've had in the first 11 game weeks. And actually, yeah, it matters, but almost equal to that is what's about to matter in the next 6 weeks, which is crazy because there's that many game weeks. So yeah, I'm like you, really excited about it, looking forward to it. And Owner Bruno was great. I haven't gone from the abyss to 1 million though, because I haven't owned Mo Salah, and therefore I've not had any captain returns. Every guy I captain blanks, and the 1 week I go against Haaland and go to Solanke, he scores with his hand and of course blanks. So I'm looking at it going, I'm really happy with my team. In fact, all my transfers have been brilliant. Like Cunha, bought him in 12 points. Bruno bought him in 17 points. But if you're not getting captaincy right, and I haven't been, and I haven't owned Mo Salah, then it can really cost you in this game, can't it? Like, it shows how big captaincy is, because I've been getting grey arrows even though my team's been doing really well, because I don't own the one guy everyone is captaining.
Exactly, and it works both ways as well. So for example, let's assume that the rest of your team, the rest of your 10 guys weren't doing that well, which was the case with our teams early in the season with when we had Haaland captain. He was just scoring for fun, but Haaland was doing well, and that was sort of papering over the cracks because he was sort of carrying the team on his back, right? So even if the rest of the team isn't doing well, the captain is doing well, he will sort of, still keep you afloat. But this just, again, explains why captaincy is such a fundamental part of this game. It's of huge importance, absolute massive importance.
Yeah,
and it could have easily have gone either way, because I'm sure. I mean, you must have seen the statistics, because over the past 6 weeks, Haaland's XGI has actually been better than Salah's, and he's been outscored by quite some distance. So it's been very unlucky, actually.
Yeah, and I even look at 3-4 game weeks ago with the triple captaincy on Haaland. Like, the variance has been terrible for me. And you see those sort of variance charts where you see what you should have hit and what you have hit. Honestly, I don't think I've ever had a season this unlucky. I put it in sort of, quotation marks. And I think we probably, over the course of the season, hope that balances out. But boy, have I had it rough with captaincy, just with Haaland's XG versus his output. And even Solanke last time out, and then the triple captainship. It's a little bit get the violin out, Gianni, I know, but it has been absolutely brutal. And you felt that earlier in the season, I guess, as a Bruno and Eze owner, for example.
Exactly.
They were two good examples of it against you.
Yeah, exactly. Bruno specifically, because I firmly believe that I was very unlucky at points when Bruno didn't score that well. And in the past 2 weeks, I've been actually lucky because his underlying data hasn't really been through the roof. It's more or less been similar to what he was doing earlier. It's just that he's gotten the points, and the chances that he's been creating have been converted, which could have been the case earlier as well. Now, some people put it down to new manager bounce. I just think it's variance. It's not new manager bounce. It's mostly variance, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
There will be
exactly
times
that.
where you get unlucky. There will be time where we get lucky. But the main thing is, as long as you sort of keep making those rational decisions for a sustained period of time, then there's every chance of you doing well over a long period of time.
Yeah, I like that. Before we chat wildcard and Trent and players to buy and sell, let's just touch on Salah, but also captaincy, because the vast majority, if we do a captaincy poll right now, 60-70% of those watching will be captaining Salah. The only ones that aren't captaining Salah, those that don't own him, right? I did a poll on Twitter. I think it was 70% Salah, maybe 15% Haaland, 10% Palmer, and 5% other, or something like that. I don't know if that even adds to 100. If you don't own Salah this week, are you're obviously you're hiding behind the sofa and you don't want to watch that game on Sunday. But is there a good chance? Because I think there is, that there's an opportunity there that Haaland can actually go and smash it. And Palmer versus Leicester, Haaland versus a Spurs team without Van de Ven maybe, and at home. Could this be a week where actually we see a surprise and Haaland or Palmer outscore Salah?
I think this is a week where there are actually 5 or 6 good captaincy options.
Bruno?
I mean, Bruno, Isak even. Isak is at home to West Ham, or Saka if he's fit at home to Nottingham Forest. So there are plenty of realistic options where you can go this week. I mean, I guess Salah's the obvious choice because of his form and the fixture. But I think, Jani, I think when I look at your team, I think you sort of made your bed now with Haaland, and you're probably just going to go with Haaland captain, which is perfectly fine. I mean, imagine us talking about Haaland being a risk like 4 weeks ago. I mean, half of the audience would have just walked out of the episode live, right? But now it generally does seem like a risk. Whereas I don't really think that is personally the case, because his underlying data is still very strong, and he's actually just failed to score just once at home this season, which was against Fulham, I believe, and he scored in all of the games, all of the home games in the Premier League. Yeah. So you'd expect him to score. As you mentioned, Spurs don't have the best of defenses. They have a few injuries in the squad as well. So I think Haaland is a safe choice. And I can see a world where Haaland ends up outscoring Salah, and I'm not that surprised. It could easily happen. But my point is, are you actually going Haaland, or are you actually taking the plunge with Palmer?
It's definitely between the two. Like, I own Bruno, and I've got a couple of other players with okay fixtures. I'm not looking at them with the armband. I'd say I'm 65% on Haaland, 35% on Palmer. Like, I'm definitely, press conference news could swing it for me. Like, the Spurs defense is key news I need to know about. Like, if we see Dragerson and Ben Davies starting, I'm like, oh yeah, I want Haaland for sure. So yeah, FPL Amateurs just said that exact thing in the chat. That's funny. So I think that matters for me, what we see in the press conferences. But we know Palmer is trained. We know he's fit. He is a flat track bully. And part of me looks at him against newly promoted teams, especially last season with hauls against the likes of Burnley and who the other newly promoted teams last season he scored big against? Yeah, Luton. And I do wonder if I should just go Palmer, because I think Leicester, the fact they're playing at home actually plays into Chelsea's hands. Leicester won't be a full-on park the bus jobby at home. But at the same time, Haaland just scored a hat-trick in the international break. Like, he's looking, I think, sharp. He has been getting the chances. De Bruyne could be back fit. Spurs will always have a go. That game could have goals. I quite fancy that to be a bit of a basketball match. Spurs always score at the Etihad, and City are all over the place defensively. That could be a high-scoring game, which would play into Haaland's hands. So, yeah, we'll see. What do you think on the Haaland versus Palmer debate then, if you were going with one or the two? How do you feel about that?
I think what might swing it for me is because even though there are like legit arguments for both, and I think both of them are really good, strong captaincy candidates, but realistically, I think Palmer, I think the significant majority of people will own Palmer this week. Jani, I personally feel if I was in your position, the crowd that you're competing against is basically the engaged crowd. And I would assume that all those people who've overtaken you in recent weeks don't have Haaland. And I would be willing to increase the EO against that crowd and go with Haaland captain, just so that you can maximize the gains if Haaland comes off.
Yeah.
If Palmer does well, you'll own him anyway. Right? So it's not as if you're not going to celebrate his points, right?
Yeah, I feel like I've got a couple of weeks to really go. I'm all in on Haaland already. I may as well continue that. Yes. And I am very conscious that everyone that's made ground on me in the last 3-4 weeks have sold Haaland to get Salah. The vast majority, very few own both. So yeah, I think that's a really good point, mate. Sally asks about early sub for Salah if possible. I've seen a lot of this. I don't buy it. Like that does not concern me at all with Mo Salah, guys. I'd love to think it's true. He's just had 2 weeks off. He needs minutes in his legs, if anything. Like I know they've got Real Madrid in the Champions League, but he ain't getting early subbed. Not anything of any note, anyway.
But just because it seems so close, it seems like a week where you just go all in and just bet against Salah if you don't have him and just go with Haaland.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because if Haaland comes off, I can see a big score for Haaland in this fixture. I'm actually terrified of not owning him, actually.
Yeah. I mean, his EO will be still very high because his ownership's high, and there's a lot of set and forget Haaland captains from earlier that would have started the season and perhaps switched off a bit. So Salah's EO is going to be scary, but Haaland will still be close to 100, I'd have thought, and then Salah will be through the roof.
And while we're discussing Haaland, one final thing is I see a lot of teams, a lot of managers in this position where plenty of people actually have both Haaland and Salah, and they don't have the funds for Palmer. So do you think this is a week where people can jump off Haaland to get Palmer because Chelsea have a really good run of fixtures going forward?
I've just looked at the fixtures between like now and the 27th of December, all the way up to game week 19. And I look at it and go, Palmer's absolutely needed because the fixture's there, but also, most importantly for Palmer, he gets all the midweeks off. Like, this ticker's great, but he also doesn't show you the midweek games, which all, like, Arsenal and Liverpool play every single midweek between now and the new year. Palmer has 3 midweeks off. They're not in the EFL Cup, and he's not involved in the Europa Conference group stages. So Palmer's got 3 midweeks off. Salah and Saka have none. Haaland has won EFL Cup. So that's really, really important for me. But the Chelsea top of the ticker here from Scout, like, yeah, I think you need Palmer. But would I sell Haaland? No, I genuinely think, and this is what I'm moving to, mate. I think in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to own Salah, Haaland, and Palmer, and I'm going to get there for free. That's my plan anyway. And I know I've gone without Salah this long, but I also think you need Salah for and it means no Saka, and it means no Spurs attackers, and it means no Bruno. But my plan is to get to that freemium.
It also potentially means no Trent.
It means definitely no Trent, who I'm selling this game week, I think. Yeah,
that's the next question, because if Trent is fit, which sounds unlikely and seems unlikely, that even if fit, he might not be risked because of the games that Liverpool have coming up against Madrid and City. So yeah, I can see the argument you're trying to make, but I doubt that a lot of people would want to do that, because I don't think a lot of people have the funds nor the free transfers to actually move to a structure with Palmer, Salah, and Haaland.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like, if you're giving people the choice, and maybe if they're wildcarding in game week 14, they might look at it and go, yeah, I can get 3 of them in. My advantage, and I don't have many because it's been a rough season and I haven't owned Mo Salah, but my advantage of getting to Salah late is I can set up a team structure with free transfers where simply in 2 moves, I downgrade Trent, I downgrade Solanke, João Pedro and Lewis Hall, hello to you guys. And it means Bruno goes to Salah, and I already have Haaland in place. Like, I'm looking at teams now going, how the hell are you going to get Haaland in? And I think you're going to want Haaland. Like, I know he's got Liverpool next week, but after that, I look at Forest, Palace, Man United, and that run continues, and think that, you know, Haaland's got good enough fixtures to want him back in and give him the armband fairly often. Like, as a non-Haaland owner, do you think you'll find a way to move to him, or have you made your bed a bit like me with Salah and gone?
If we can display the ticker on screen, if we can display this ticker on screen.
Yeah, I got to Haaland's fixtures and then it went, but I got halfway through, and I feel like there's a good patch of fixtures there for Haaland.
Yeah, I want to talk about the fixtures in particular. So I'm requesting the producer to show the fixtures on screen. Once he does, I'll explain my point. But currently, I'm looking at bringing Haaland in game week 19. Because in the next few fixtures, I think the captaincy is fairly well covered with the likes of Salah and Palmer. So even if I get Saka in my team, which I'm not sure I will, but even if I do, hypothetically speaking, I don't think I will captain Saka in most weeks. So Salah and Palmer are covering me for captaincy just fine till game week 19, which is the week where City just have an incredible run of fixtures, and it just makes Haaland more or less essential at that point. So that's a week where I'm sort of trying to build towards as many transfers before we get to that stage. And then once we do, then I'll probably just swap Salah and Haaland around and see where we go from there.
Yeah, Shashank says 18-19 is a good Haaland entry point. I think a lot like you will be looking at that. But let's have a look at that ticker if we can show it one more time and see the weeks you'll be going without Haaland then, very likely. Not just you, but, your move. Please show the ticker. Yeah, I don't know where. Our producer might be having Wi-Fi issues where it's enough to host, but he isn't hearing us.
Yeah,
Don't know.
Exactly.
So let's talk about some of those fixtures then if we can't show it. No, our producer is on because he's throwing up comments. If you're listening to us, can you show the ticker, please? We're on Haaland fixtures and we need to see him. But look, we can call internet issues. Yeah, well, if you can't show it, just let us know and we can call them out. But yeah, it's here. So go on, big man.
All right. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you look at game week 12, this is a week where even if you have Haaland, you're probably going to captain Salah. Then in game week 13, Liverpool and City are playing against each other. Now, this is a bit of a tricky week, but Chelsea have Aston Villa at home, which is a relatively all right fixture. And Bomo has Leicester at home. So I think he will be one of the more popular captaincy choice. Similarly, United actually have Everton at home. So I think game week 13 is going to be a bit of a left field one. But then again, this is not a week where you'll captain Haaland even if you want him, because Liverpool away is tough. Then game week 14, Forest at home is really, really good. But this is a week where Palmer has Southampton away. So you can perhaps get away with it. Then in game week 15, you have Crystal Palace away for City, which is an all right fixture. Palace at home are all right. They're not a really bad defense. And this is a week where Liverpool have Everton away, right?
Yeah.
So then again, you probably go with the Liverpool guy. And then next week, where City are playing United at home, Liverpool are playing Fulham at home. So then again, you probably go with Salah.
Salah. Yeah.
Exactly. So till 16, you're fine without Haaland. Then in 17, City are playing Villa away, which again isn't as easy. But Chelsea are playing Everton away, Liverpool playing Spurs away. So again, not exactly a essential Haaland fixture. Game week 18 is where it really sort of turns. But even in game week 18, Salah has Leicester at home. So even if you have Haaland in game week 18 at home to Everton, you're probably going to captain Salah at home to Leicester. My point is, in game week 19, that's why I was saying game week 19, because game week 19, Liverpool have West Ham away, which is a good fixture, but City have a much better fixture where they're playing Leicester away. And then in game week 20, they're playing West Ham at home. So game week 19 is realistically the time where I'm looking at bringing Haaland in. And by that time, I must ensure that I've accumulated enough free transfers to be able to make that switch. And I think I'll probably sell Salah, because even though I sort of buy the argument that Salah's exceptional fixtures from that point, his fixtures are good, but they're not as exceptional as Haaland, because you're only going to captain one. So I'm of the opinion that I generally go for value for money. So even like a couple of weeks ago, Haaland had decent fixtures against Bournemouth away and Brighton away, but I sort of took the risk to sell him because I didn't think he would represent good value if he wasn't going to be the captain of my team. And same is going to be the case with Salah from game week 19 onwards.
Yeah, completely get it. Do you know what? I think I was thinking very similar lines to you. And I've said all season, like, it's probably one or the other. And team structure suffers if you have both. I'm now going to get to a team structure, I think, where I have both. But my hand in a way has been forced. Two reasons. One, the Trent injury. I wasn't planning on selling Trent. I look at these Liverpool fixtures and I kind of want Trent long term. But if he's going to be out for this week, this was one of the good fixtures I wanted him for. And it looks like he's going to be out. And then, it's Man City the week after. And then I also look at the fact he hasn't been playing great. There are transfer rumours. And there's a huge wealth of very good value defenders, which we'll talk about later. And then there's also huge value elsewhere. And because there's huge value elsewhere, both in defence and midfield and attack, I look at it and go, Jesus, I can actually afford Palmer, Salah and Haaland. And because there's so many good value guys, I think I want João Pedro in my team. He happens to be 5.4 million. And that's probably not the only reason I want him. He's just super cheap. I look at some of the 4.5 defenders. I want them in my team. I might want Semenyo moving forward. I can get these value players. And then actually I've got key cogs elsewhere that happen to be expensive. So things might change. There might become a few headaches later down the line. But as long as the good value players, the really cheap enablers are performing, and we've seen the likes of Semenyo and Smith Rowe and Rodgers and in midfield alone, all doing it, then maybe I can keep that freemium draft, which I think I'll get to.
Let's talk about Trent, man, because Trent is actually a big issue in a lot of our teams.
Yeah.
I got him in last week.
So
It was just
annoying
terrible
because they
timing.
got the clean
It
sheet
was
as well.
he got the clean sheet.
Yeah.
I would have had him for Southampton as well. It just didn't work out. It was really unfortunate. Anyway, what's done is done.
Yeah.
I agree with you that with the current information available, it's sort of difficult to see him playing against Southampton. But if he's fit, then obviously I'll keep him. But hypothetically, is speaking, if we sort of hear negative news, if he isn't training, or if we hear that he is unlikely to be risked, then what are your thoughts on him? Do you think he's a clear sell?
I think so. Do you know what? Like, we both saw him as a bit of a differential, certainly amongst like the community, because he's been so expensive, and as people moved to get Salah, they all sold Trent. You bought him quite early last week with the Southampton fixture in mind, of course, and last week with the clean sheet. It was great. It was a good entry point. But most were probably planning on getting on Trent after the Man City game. He's probably still going to be fit for that. Like, after Man City, you would expect him to be available, right? And it's still there's a good run of games. But just knowing, one, he's so expensive. Two, he isn't around for Southampton, which was one of those high ceiling games for Trent. It certainly felt like that. I think he's the sell even for those like you that have just bought him. It's so annoying because you've wasted 2 transfers effectively. But when I look at the 4.5 million options, or I spend a little bit more and get a Luca Dean or an Ait Nori, but even at 4.5 and below,
Lewis Hall.
I like Colwill, I like Kirkes, and I think Lewis Hall is the best of the bunch. 4.4.
Okay, so I'll come to Trent first and then the replacements. The thing with Trent is that with my team, I can sort of, even if he's out this week, I can afford to sort of bench him in 12 and 13,
Right.
especially in 13. And I can probably just wing it this week and just play Pedro Porro away to City, just accept the 1 or 2 points. Yeah. There are not too many defenders this week with a great fixture anyway, but I'll only do this if I'm absolutely certain that I want Trent going forward. The issue with Trent is that Newcastle in 14 away is not exactly an amazing fixture. After game week 15, the fixtures are relatively all right. He's still not a must-have, but he's a good pick either way. The only reluctance I have in selling Trent is that I know that by game week 18 I would want him again. That's the main issue. I see him as a transfer in and out.
Yeah,
that's the issue. I mean, it's difficult to see a world where I don't get Trent for that Leicester game, for that West Ham game, or even for that United game. I want him for that spell, and I might as well even get him by game week 15 or 16. So, do I really want to sell him if I want him back soon? That's the issue. But the counter argument that can be, I mean, I'm personally not exactly that interested in the cheaper defenders. I'm looking at double Arsenal defense and looking at that front. It was around the same time last year, Johnny, that I doubled up on the Arsenal
around
defense.
10, wasn't it? I think,
more or less around game week 10, 11, or 12. Very similar to this stage. And they just went on a run where they were just keeping clean sheets for fun or scoring goals for fun, Gabriel and Saliba. And I'm tempted to do the same again.
If I was you, I'd do the same. I can't get to double Arsenal defense because I need a Salah route. And my Salah route means I can only spend 4.5 on a defender. But if I had 5.5, Jury and Timber would be straight in.
Are you convinced on his minutes, though? Because Partey can easily still slot in, especially in the festive fixtures. That's the issue.
He might miss a game, but when he's been fit, he started. And he is taking up good average positions. And Calafiori is not the style of player that can play 2
times I'm not interested in Calafiori.
But Calafiori's minutes matter, right? Because if he's not there, then Julian Timber is playing left back, and that's where Partey comes in on the right. But regardless, I think the first choice is Calafiori left, Timber right, and there will be times Partey plays right back. But when that's the case, you might see Timber at left back.
Yeah, but there is some element of risk, right? And that's
little bit.
I hear
same
you.
With Lewis Hall, though. You could say the same about Lewis Hall.
I think Lewis Hall is more secure because we've seen consistently over a period of time that Lewis Hall has played really well. I don't think Kelly's going to come back in any point. I think Timber is first choice as well. But okay, let me explain it this way. Arsenal have like a really good run of fixtures. I mean, these fixtures that I've selected, the fixture ticker is till January. But even if you extend it till, let's say, Feb,
it continues.
It continues, and you can just forget about the Arsenal defense for that period of time. Now, if Ben White comes back by Jan, you might as well want to replace Timber with someone like a Saliba anyway.
Yeah.
So why not Saliba right now if funds aren't an issue? And if I'm downgrading Trent, then funds exactly aren't an issue, right?
Yeah,
For
I
me,
hear you.
actually, you know what adds to the confusion in my case is that I actually have Porro as well. And Porro, I don't really want to keep either because the fixtures are tough. As if you can see and look at Spurs, I mean, they're down the ticker, they're in the bottom half.
Yeah,
And they're
and
generally
Spurs can't
conceding
even
goals.
keep a clean sheet against Ipswich or Crystal Palace or like that. You know
Yeah,
that it's time to sell Porro because he's expensive.
yeah.
So you could go Porro to your Arsenal defender.
So I'm realistically this week. Realistically, I'm looking at maybe Porro out or maybe Trent out for an Arsenal defender. Realistically, but I really hope Trent is fine, man. Because if Trent is fine, then all my problems are solved.
Yeah, if Trent is fine, then he'll be staying in my team, and I have to think of a different route to Salah. But I don't expect him to be like a hamstring, and he went off. It was the fact that he went off after 20 minutes. Like it wasn't a pull, and you try and play on. I think he tried to play on for like a minute, and then was like, "Yeah, I'm off." So hamstrings can be anything between 2 and 6 weeks, I think. And I'm no doctor, but I think it's unlikely, very unlikely. I mean, we need to see training pictures, don't we, to go there to keep him. What's your take? We've got a lot of questions in the chat about both Bruno and Mbeumo. You own both, I own both. Before we move on, when the ticker's still here, what are our plans with both Bruno and Mbeumo? Some are moving Mbeumo to a Bruno because Mbeumo's fixtures turn a little bit, but I'd argue Mbeumo can score in any of those festive periods in that fixtures.
Yeah, okay. I think this is a very good question, and I think this requires a bit of planning. Firstly, in the next 2 fixtures, I expect both to be fine. In fact, we discussed in Game Week 13. I'm actually looking at Mbeumo and Bruno as potential captaincy options.
Yeah,
exactly, in 13. So for the next 2 weeks, you're fine. The problem actually starts from Game Week 14 onwards. Where you see Brentford have a rough run of fixtures, and the same is the case with United. While both of them are perfectly good picks, but the fixtures aren't there. Why I don't exactly have a conclusive answer to this is because I think that Bruno and Mbeumo are exactly the kind of guys you need over Christmas. When the fixture are congested and when the rotation is going to kick in, these are the kind of guys that you want. No headache.
Champions, no midweek games either, other than the Premier League midweeks. Yeah,
exactly. They're going to play all minutes. They're going to play all games. These are exactly the kind of guys you need to be targeting. But it's just unfortunate that their fixtures are difficult at that time. So I'm actually looking at Saka potentially as someone I might buy in 14, but that's going to be at the expense of Mbeumo or Bruno.
And well, Bruno can be sold. Bruno can be sold in 14 as an exit point because it's Arsenal, Forest City. That is a tough run of 3 games.
It is. I mean, it's not easy, but I mean, you can get Saka, and I think realistically, that's what I'm looking to do. I think I'll probably hold Mbeumo, and I'll sell Bruno if pushed right now, but it's sort of difficult to say. I'm not even sure I will be in a position where I will have enough free transfers to sell Mbeumo or Bruno because, as mentioned, I want to be saving transfers up for that Haaland transfer in 19. I will probably have to deal with Trent this week, I think, and then next week I'll probably have to get João Pedro for Calvert-Lewin. So I mean, I have plenty of transfers lined up. So yes, hypothetically speaking, I would want to have Saka, and I would probably want to sell one of Saka, Mbeumo, or Bruno. But I'm not sure whether I have that luxury. I think I'll probably address this in Game Week 14, depending on where we're at.
Where you're at, yeah. Well, do you know what? Let's go straight to your team now. We're going to show your wildcard in a minute, but let's see your actual team because you're talking about decisions moving forward, and it'd be good just to visualize what that looks like and who you're starting this week. Because again, I'm interested to see what you're doing with players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Is he in your 11? He is. He's made it. Come on, DCL. We weren't sure if he'd produced last time out. He had a good fixture. Everyone gave him one last chance. He got hooked again quite early. Was it hooked at like after an hour or something? Again,
was I think around the 70-minute mark. He played a bit more than the normal. So yeah, he surpassed my expectations.
But he lives to fight another day. Brentford at home. The fixture is there. Brentford are a bad defense, but
dude, I'm playing him over Solanke. I think you haven't noticed that.
Oh wow, yeah. Ooh, the bookies have Spurs at 1.2, 1.3 goals.
Yeah, I mean, Calvert-Lewin's odds are much stronger than Solanke's,
They're
so
like
I'm just going to go
1.4,
with that.
1.5, I think.
Yeah, I'm just going to
CCR.
go with that. I know it doesn't make sense on paper, etc.,
Solanke
with
will get
form and all.
90.
Yeah, Solanke will probably get 90. That's correct. And I mean, City aren't playing that well anyway, and they're defensively not exactly the same force. I do expect Spurs to score, but that's not the way I play the game. I generally look at
Yeah.
probabilities as a metric of my eating future points, and that's why I'm going to play Calvert-Lewin. Had João Pedro had a better fixture, I think Bournemouth away is an all right fixture. I don't think it's an amazing fixture. I'll probably just wait it out. As mentioned over the previous 2-3 weeks, I've been eyeing up that Calvert-Lewin to
Yeah.
João Pedro transfer. This is one of the reasons why I actually didn't jump on someone like a Larson or Konya, because I was waiting on João Pedro to come back. He's looked unbelievable, and that's going to be my move
He
next
should
week.
start against Bournemouth this week, but it's good to give him a week because we need to know he's ready to play
Exactly.
90. And the entry point in 13 is Southampton at home. Like, I'm also going to be buying João Pedro for 13.
Exactly. This is exactly why I'm going to be waiting this week, is to just to see if he's fit enough to start a game and play. And majorly because I think my priority this week has to be the defense, because I think the attack is perfectly fine. Hypothetically, even if, let's say, Palmer has been in training, let's say if Mbomo is injured or if he's out, then I can easily play Solanke, and that's fine. My attack is fine. I'm more concerned about the defense. I don't think Dunk will play because he hasn't really trained that much. At this point in time, I'm thinking he will probably not play. And the fixture stuff anyway, I would expect Bournemouth to score regardless.
At home as well, Bournemouth.
Exactly. But then we've spoken about Trent at length, and as to we don't currently expect him to start. I mean, it would be a huge blessing if he does, because if we assume that Trent is fine, then this team is good to go. I save the transfer. I do João Pedro in next week, and then I can maybe get, let's say, Raya for Flecken, because I'm looking at an Arsenal defender in the weeks to come. I really want to double up on the Arsenal defense. It's something I can't do with my team because I don't have the luxury of free transfers. But I think the best way of sort of gaining with the Arsenal defense is actually to have someone apart from Gabriel, because Gabriel is very high owned. So you want to have two to actually gain when they keep a clean sheet. One just doesn't cut it in terms of effective ownership. So I mean, this is my team. I would probably have to sell, I think, one of Porro or Trent.
Depends if you think you're going to want to buy Trent back, isn't it? That will be your planning. Does it come down to, in 4 weeks' time, I'll be buying Trent back, therefore I'm just going to keep him? Or if I'm not going to get to Trent because I want to get to Saka or I want to get to Haaland or whatever, then actually Porro's the sell.
Yeah, it's tough to say, right?
Yeah.
Because let's say if I was wildcarding this week and we'll show the wildcard team, it doesn't have any of Porro or Trent. I think both of them are issues going forward. And I think I'll probably get Saliba. I don't think I'll take the risk with Timber. That's just not the way I play.
0.5, yeah.
And I think even without the 0.5, I am tempted by Timber. Don't get me wrong, but it's just the fact that I think I'll probably just get Saliba because I want an Arsenal defender till February or March, which is basically the second time I wildcard. And I don't really want to be wasting a transfer swapping one for the other. So I might as well just go with Saliba at this point and not worry about rotation or any future transfers.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Let's just come away from the wildcard team for 1 second. We've teased it there, and we'll talk about the wildcard team in detail and the structure of that. But just want to ask you, big man, in terms of your team, you've got Mykolenko there, who from game week 15 goes on a rotten run of fixtures. He's got 3 good ones coming up, but I think from game week 15, Mykolenko has, I looked earlier, it's something like, it's Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City. So whoever you buy, you're probably going to just bear in mind from 15, you're benching Mykolenko. So I would be looking at Arsenal was fine because you're going to just play them regardless of the fixture. But someone like Lewis Hall, the reason I'm buying Lewis Hall this week, very likely, is when Mykolenko's fixtures turn, I'll probably keep him because I won't want to use a transfer selling him. Lewis Hall has 4 really good game weeks when Mykolenko has 4 rotten game weeks. So do consider that when you're making your budget defender transfers.
The thing is, Jani, that I have Dunk to cover as well, and Dunk has a stream run. This is why
you've not got a Greaves or a Vandenberg. You've got a Dunk, so you're in a stronger position. Yeah.
So Dunk is in place already in case there's any injury or anything else. Dunk should be fine for the weeks to come. But the fixtures of Brighton are really strong. So if I get an Arsenal defender, I think my defense is more or less sorted. I would prefer to have a structure where I can get to Raya and Gabriel as opposed to one with Saliba and Gabriel. But my hand is probably going to be forced because I'll be forced to play Poro this week, which doesn't sound great.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to sort of know your thoughts before we proceed.
Yeah.
So what you would do
I would be.
with
I'm with you. I think I'd reluctantly give DCL another week because you want João Pedro, and I'm just not convinced João Pedro. I think he starts, and I think he probably plays 60, but I think the entry point on João Pedro is much better next week, seeing his minutes again this week. If Trent's not available and Dunk isn't available, I'd be selling Trent. I don't think I'd just playing Porro for 1 point seems silly when someone like Lewis Hall has a good chance of a clean sheet. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't keep saying Lewis Hall because that's what I'm doing. But second Arsenal defender, 50% chance of a clean sheet. You go to Saliba. If you do go the Saliba route, though, it does still give you a headache down the line with goalkeepers because I don't think I'd want to carry Flecken in goal through December. So it's worth thinking about how important Raya versus Saliba is to you. But yeah, I'd be selling Trent.
Exactly. That's why I'm a bit reluctant to sort of go that way because ideally I want to have Raya.
And you've not got Fabianski as the backup to Flecken like a lot do. Like Fabianski, because he's getting the minutes, rotates okay with Flecken.
I mean, I don't necessarily sort of mind keeping Flecken, but the fixtures aren't there. He's still going to rack up the saves. He's insane for saves.
He's good for saves, but I'd like a clean sheet every now and then.
He's really good for saves. And if he's getting me like 3-4 points every game, that's all right for a player of his choice. So Flecken isn't like a priority transfer out, but yeah, ideally is one I would want to sell. He's
Raya dropped in price last night as well. He's 5.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's
I mean, Everton and Leicester up next to Flecken. You'd hope you get one clean sheet out of those two, but yeah, let's see. So yeah, I think that's what I'd do with your team, mate. Help me with mine. I've got a dilemma of benching dilemma. I mean, we'll see my team properly on Friday's show. Stay tuned for that. But Fabianski or Sells, both have got an 11% chance or 12% chance of a clean sheet. And I got it wrong. Last time out, you told me play Fabianski and play Mikolenko. I played Lewis and Sells. That was something like a 17-point swing. Like Mikolenko got 6 or 7 points and Fabianski got 9. And Lewis got like 0 or 1 and Sells got like 0 or 1. So I wish I'd listened to you because that was huge on my benchings last week.
And that was really unlucky. I actually asked you to bench Lewis because I didn't think he would start.
You said bench. Yeah, and he did start Mikolenko.
But yeah, I mean, I did think that Newcastle would score. So yeah, I guess that sort of went all right. So what's the dilemma this week?
So Sells versus Fabianski, both have got
Sells has games. Arsenal.
Sells goes to Arsenal. And Fabianski goes to Newcastle. They're both going to concede. And maybe I go for who gets the most save points, which is probably Sells.
Exactly. I mean, I'll actually just look it up for you. So this season,
12%. I think that's 12% each clean sheet odds.
12%. Yeah, I mean, I just won't look at clean sheet odds because I think they're negligible. I would just look at saves realistically, and when I'm looking at saves, the Forest Sells has 30 saves this season. Let me look at West Ham. Fabianski has 13. How many does Adeola have? Adeola has 20. So yeah, 33 saves for West Ham this season. 33 versus 30. 30 for Forest. So the West Ham keeper is actually better for saves.
Yeah, marginal. And then
again, what would swing it for me? It's actually the fact that it's a Monday night fixture, the West Ham one. So it would give you some reason to cheer something on the Monday night. And Jani, you must remember the last time you cheered a keeper on Monday night, he got you, I think, a 10 or an 11 pointer.
No, it was Flecken who lost his 12-pointer to a 4-pointer.
No,
which was
you had
brilliant.
Sells.
I did. I did have a big Sells point. But I also benefited massively from that Flecken downfall, which was, again, really recently on a Monday. So, yeah, you're right.
So you're getting lucky with keepers on Monday night football. You might as well go. If there's nothing to pick between the two, might as well go ahead with that superstition.
Yeah, okay, maybe I will. And then the last question from me, but again, this is of importance to a lot of people watching. What to do with Rico Lewis? Like, I own him. I'm not selling him yet. But Rico Lewis versus someone like a Mikolenko for the starting 11 this week. Like, City are going to
I don't think
concede,
Rico
aren't
will
they?
start. I don't think Rico will start.
You think he'll go Walker because of Sonny?
Yeah, I think he will go Walker. Uh, Having said that, I think Rico is actually a good player to hold after this week
I am keeping
because
him.
that's
Yeah.
because that's when the fixtures improve, and that's when you realistically expect Rico to play. So this isn't the ideal week. Actually, next week is tough as well. Next week is Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool. Yeah.
After that, yeah. So the next 2 weeks are very dodgy for Rico, but after that the fixtures are much better. So if you can afford to hide Rico for the next 2 weeks, then I think he's a keep. If you can't, then he's a sub.
Interesting. He does play in the 5:30 this Saturday, so we're not going to get team leaks. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on whether he starts or not. But
Jani,
regardless,
have you
Mikolenko at home,
noticed?
maybe you start him.
Have you noticed that we've sort of stopped getting City team leaks
Yeah.
in recent times? This past 2 or 3, 4 game weeks,
Yeah.
where we've had a realistic chance of getting leaks, but we haven't. So something has changed. I mean, I don't think we're going to get too many leaks in the times to come. I won't rely on them, at least.
Yeah, no, you're right. We really haven't. And there's been a couple of game week deadlines where we go on, oh, City are playing fairly early. We might get a leak. I mean, coming up in the next few weeks, we don't have City playing close to a deadline. I think on Saturday, the 7th of December, which is game week 15, they play at 3:00. The early kickoff there is Everton-Liverpool, and we will get Liverpool leaks, I expect. And that might be a fixture plenty of captaining Mo Salah against Everton in 15. So that could be useful in terms of leaks. And then game week 16 is really cool because there's no early kickoff on that Saturday, the 14th of December. And then the 3:00, we have Newcastle. There might be some Isak owners, but we also have Liverpool and Arsenal playing in the 3:00, which will be the first. And the deadline is 1:30. So I think game week 16 for Liverpool and Arsenal, there's a good chance on leaks. But yeah, Man City aren't featuring early. Let's have a look at that wildcard team you've put together then, big man. If you're still on wildcard, now is clearly a good time to use it if you need to. If you don't use it for the sake of it. But similar to me, when I put my wildcard team together, I went with a similar structure. I actually put my team together before the fixtures last weekend because I wanted to post it when I was away in the US. And I made my wildcard team without Salah. And obviously it was another week of Salah smashing it. And I put Haaland in Haaland. And so all my comments were like, what a moron. Why has he not gone Salah? And I was like, oh, I made this in game week 11. In like game week 10. But I did have the foresight to go João Pedro, Cunha, and Pedro Neto, all three of which returned in game week 11. So I was like, that's amazing. Now, you've only gone for Pedro out of those three, but I guess very easily you could swap, you could find the funds to go Cunha instead of Raul, and maybe, Semenyo instead of Semenyo, Pedro Neto. But yeah, we've gone for similar structure.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team which I've sort of put together, which would give an idea of which teams, players to target in the weeks to come. As we've already mentioned, that Arsenal have a really good run of fixtures, and I really love the idea of doubling up on the defense. Yeah. Saka is a bit of a differential at this point. So this midfield that I've picked, Saka, Salah, Palmer, and Bomo, Semenyo, is like really, really strong. It doesn't have Bruno Fernandes. I think you can go with, realistically, when I was making the draft, I was finding it tough between picking two of Mbeumo, Isak, and Bruno. And I think that Bruno was the sacrifice, simply because you mentioned earlier as well that those three fixtures that he has coming up after game week 14 is basically a spell where you want to probably get rid of him. And that's why I think I have Saka in place, assuming that he's fit. And then, Isak has a good long-term run of fixtures. I put Lewis Hall in as well for similar reasons. A good pick. Same with Brighton, João Pedro, and I've gone with Van Hecke because I'm really not sure about Dunk's injury. I've gone with Konsa. I'm not sure whether Konsa's fit or not, but if he's not fit, then you can go with Digne, more or less same price. Anderson is also there. I think at 4.3 represents superb value. I have Raul Jimenez in my current team, and Raul Jimenez is like, I think he's one of my favorite picks in the game right now, simply because the value that he brings to the table. I'm expecting good returns from him tomorrow. He did really well again for Mexico last night as well.
Oh, did he?
And yeah, he scored. And I have Semenyo over Rodgers. I don't think there's much between them, but I think I marginally prefer Semenyo over Rodgers at this point.
Yeah, I think the fixture's there for Semenyo. I like that. Really good wildcard team. Let us know your thoughts in the chat. Love it, boys. We'll be back, says Will. One free transfer, 0.3 in the bank. Ooh, Johnson's still in there. So is Foden. I would be tempted to buy Semenyo. I think the entry point for Semenyo is good with Brighton and Wolves up next. I think I would use the transfer there and get rid of Johnson.
Yeah, hi, Will, Raya, Gabriel, Lewis, Trent, McKilling. I think the defense is all right, but he might even have a defensive transfer to make, Jani, because I mean, Lewis is unlikely to play. If Trent is not fit, then he hasn't mentioned the fifth defender.
Oh,
He hasn't
yeah.
mentioned the fifth
Okay,
defender.
yeah.
The defense is an issue, I think, straight away. So, I mean, if the defense is an issue, then I think that probably just answers your question. You can just play Johnson because he's going to play anyway, right? At least he's going to start.
Mate, what are you doing with? Do you think we'll find out from Trent before tonight? Because Trent is likely to drop in price tonight, and I'm guessing.
I don't think we will.
What do you have on him? Do you lose money if he drops in price? I do. I paid 7 and he would drop to 6.9. So
I do, but I'm not going to sell him because I mean, even if there's like a 10% chance of him being fit, then I can't just let that go because of like a 0.1 price drop. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Honestly.
Will said his fifth defender is actually Greaves of Ipswich, who, by the way, also had a hamstring injury and is still was still out last time round. I think there's a slim chance Greaves is around. Okay, nice. Well, that's that then. We'll move on from the wildcard chat. We've spoken captaincy. We've spoken budget defenders that I like. I do think Lewis Hall is the best of the bunch. Big man, do you agree with that? If you are shopping for a Trent replacement, you can't get to an Arsenal defender and you want to spend 4.5 or below, would you look at Colwill or Kirkes, or do you think Hall is perhaps the best?
I agree with you. I think Hall is the best. I just look at those fixtures and the fact that he's played quite a lot of minutes in recent weeks, which would give me the confidence of him being in a short starter going forward. So, I would pick Hall if in that position. I think he's going to be a good differential for you. I recall you owning him at the start of the season as well, Johnny, right?
Yeah, I did. I owned him for the first, 5 or 6 game weeks. There was 1 or 2 where he played Lloyd Kelly at left back, which was annoying, but I don't think they kept clean sheets in those fixtures anyway. And Lewis Hall, the way he's been playing, has earned his spot now. So some are a little bit worried. I've had a few comments online saying like, Trippier will be back and Livramento can play left back. It's like Lewis Hall is first choice.
He's fifth for chances created, actually, and despite not having played that much this season.
Oh, wow.
And he is an absolute BPS machine. So you look at his BPS in recent times, he is a bonus monster. So if Newcastle are to keep a clean sheet because of the number of chances that he creates, he's likely going to get more than 6 points. It's probably going to be an 8 or 9 pointer, depending on how the game has gone.
True, he does have a wonder of a left foot. Let's just show, actually, I posted earlier on social a graphic of some big chances conceded, and I think we've screen grabbed it. What was interesting, big chances conceded, Man City aren't in the top 8. Like, they are conceding chances for fun. Anyway, teams that aren't, if you're looking for budget defenders, sure, Forest and Fulham have been good, but perhaps don't have the fixtures. Fulham have got an all right run, which is why Anderson on your wild card is a great shout, I think. But you do see Newcastle here, and I do think we're seeing signs of a more solid Newcastle defence, which is similar to perhaps what we saw under Eddie Howe in his first season at Newcastle, where he had him on lockdown. We might be returning to that with the fixtures for Newcastle. I fancy a few clean sheets. I mean, any surprises here for you? I mean, Spurs, like, they don't concede chances, Spurs, but when they do, they concede goals.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. They always find a way of conceding in every fixture. Look at Nottingham Forest. I mean, that's been a surprise. And Fulham again. That's why I've had Anderson in the draft. They've played really well this season, and they've actually sort of pleasantly surprised me. Over the years, you've seen with Fulham is that they've jammed clean sheets. They've not actually deserved clean sheets. They've jammed clean sheets because Leno's actually been so good that he's bailed them out time and time again. This time, it's actually quite the opposite, where they're not exactly conceding too many chances, and Leno's not exactly had to bail them out in most games. So and even the Arsenal side, I would like to mention that Arsenal have had 3 games against Bournemouth, against City, and there was this other fixture as well, which is escaping my memory. Where
10 men.
Yeah, Brighton, exactly. Where they've played with 10 men, and their numbers outside of that, their defensive data is actually pretty strong. So even this is a bit skewed because of the 3 fixtures where they played with 10 men. So
True.
Arsenal,
that Bournemouth game, they were down to 10 in the first half, and then it was all Bournemouth second half, wasn't it? So that was probably 5 or 6 big chances in that game alone, second half.
Exactly. So, I mean, Arsenal still remain a great defense. And Yeah, doubling up on Arsenal is something that should bear good returns in the weeks to come. Jani, one thing we haven't discussed is, and I have spoken to a few people who are entertaining the
Oh,
idea,
go on, B Sky.
triple Arsenal
Oh,
fans,
I thought
not
you were
not
going to
B
say.
Sky.
I thought you were going to say Blue Sky. I just thought
Dude,
the idea of
I
using
haven't
Blue Sky.
I haven't created an account on Blue Sky, and yet I've seen there were a couple of accounts, fake accounts of mine being created and
Oh my
uh,
god,
brought to
amazing!
my attention. So this is just insane. I don't even have Big Man Buck has been taken already. So even if I am to create an account, I have to probably use some other name. It's just very disheartening.
Yeah, that is annoying. I only set up an account on Monday afternoon, and I was a bit like, oh, I've kind of missed that wave of everyone posting loads and wondering if it would die down. It didn't. It's just getting bigger and bigger. And there's accounts out there like, I don't know, Ben Crellin has got 7,000 or 8,000 followers already. It's mad. Like there is a huge audience there for those, especially that are on all the recommended lists and have been posting for like 3-4 weeks. I mean, I've been posting 3 days, but if you do want to follow me on B Sky or Blue Sky, then you can. I am fairly active. I have been for 2 days. I've posted as much on there, actually more on there than on Twitter. I think I'm going to continue to do both. But yeah, time will tell. Let us know in the chat if it's your thing or not. And Big Man, you need to get yourself a handle before Big Man Backer FPL goes or something else.
Yeah, I'll look at a way of creating an account or something. But yeah,
It's
I'll probably
annoying though because
report
you've
the
got
account.
such a big Twitter audience. You don't want
Yeah,
to lose that. And I have seen various polls where the majority, like there's been a lot of people saying they are still going to continue on Twitter as their main platform. So whilst a lot of the FPL accounts have moved
what
to
about
Blue
you?
Sky, I think I'll be both. I think I'll continue to do Big Man, the real one, says FPL Freddy. Should be your handle. I don't know. I guess I'm giving it time. My plan was not to go over to Blue Sky until I saw everyone else do it. And then I just thought I'll grab my handle before someone takes it. And so that's what I went with. I grabbed the handle and then did a few posts and was like, oh my God, I've got 1,000 followers in 24 hours. Okay, there's clearly a market here. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Let's take some questions, Danny. We still have
Yeah.
like a few minutes.
Yeah.
So
Hit us up, guys. Hit us
questions,
up.
please.
Oh, Cloudy says, if it wasn't for your mental health video between 4 and 6, I was down to 4.2. Oh, wow, you're in 250k now. I wouldn't be here with your advice. Thank you in that video. Cloudy FPL, that is such a lovely comment. I'm going to screen grab that. Thank you very much. And yeah, good to know. Guys, we haven't asked you at all to hit the buttons. If you want to like, please like. If you want to put your comment in the chat, you've got to be a subscriber to do that. So, Big Man, tell them to subscribe.
Hey, everyone, we do like 3 videos per week. Jani does 3, I do 2, Dean does 2. So it requires a lot of effort, takes a lot of our time. So kindly like the video, subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to us, and that would be a nice way of saying a very little thank you to us in terms of our contribution. Zaid is asking Saka in for Rodgers or -4. No, I think Rodgers is fine this week. The fixture against Palace is fine at home. Yeah, Palace haven't won in ages, from memory. I mean,
Cole or Konza?
They haven't won an away game.
I'll say Cole will just, but I prefer Lewis Hall.
I would say Lewis Hall preferably as well, if you're going there. Lewis is asking Evanilson and Bomo or Semenyo and Jackson. Jackson's still on 4 yellows, and so is Semenyo. That's a bit of a concern. But the thing is that Mbomo is a great pick for the next 2 weeks. After that, he'll probably be a transfer out. I would still lean towards the former, because I think a team with Evanilson and Mbomo is likely to give you a better balance. If you sort of have a look at our wildcard team that we suggested, that has Mbomo and Raul for similar reasons, because it gives you a lot more flexibility across the rest of the team. Jani?
I've read this one. Eddie, yeah. I would say I'd give Watkins 1 more week, but then maybe move him to João Pedro next week. But give him 1 more week.
Yeah.
Good question, Eddie. Next up, we'll take alternates. Oh, no. Oh,
next is Ross. Bench Rodgers, Semenyo, or Wissa this week. So Rodgers has Palace at home.
You can't bench
Wissa
Semenyo.
Has
Everton away.
Wissa has Everton. I'll probably bench Wissa. I think you can't bench Semenyo. Yeah, if he's fit. Yeah.
Would you do Gvardiol, Son, to Gabriel Saka or Son Vardy to Rod. Oh gosh, Shashan, I'm struggling with that one. Don't know. I'd sell the first one.
I would do the first as well because Arsenal have a better run of fixtures over a more sustained period of time. So I think Gabriel and Saka would be my moves.
Sally, I think Isak's definitely worth looking at. If you've got him, definitely don't sell for Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson isn't always a 90-minute man either. Isak is. Isak's a good buy.
I think he's worth 8.5 million.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he's asking. But I think his numbers are actually that good that he warrants that price tag. And you must have noticed in the wildcard game, I've actually picked him over Solanke because when you look at the fixtures from now on in, I think Isak is actually better than Solanke in the weeks to come. So
I'm very happy selling Solanke. Selling Solanke. Rodgers versus Jimenez. I mean, probably start Rodgers just for me, but big man, you've got them both.
I would probably play Jimenez.
Because of the outside taking forwards as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So you know me so well. I was going to say outside chance of penalties. You actually guessed that before.
Enjoy your 68 minutes.
I mean, to be fair, there's no guarantee of Rodgers playing like more than 68 either.
Fair. So he has been seeing some subs now. Yeah. Last question from Trillo. Would you do Ricolos to Mazraoui? I don't think I would. I think I'd keep Ricolos. I think he'll start. Well, I'm 50-50 on it, but I don't think I'll be buying Mazraoui just yet. Moko,
I don't think I would buy Mazraoui either.
Stupidan's fine, but I'd spend 4.5 and get someone else. Guys, that's all we got time for. We're out of time.
Done?
Yeah, we're out of time. I got a 2:00 call.
This passed by in a bit of a jiffy. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining in. It means a lot to us. So make sure to subscribe to the channel once again if you haven't already, and we'll see you all on Friday.
Yeah, thank you guys. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.